Hey, you guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven and accompanied by Queen Taylor. That and really threw me off
That was
there.
weird.
That was a little weird.
And
But today we're going to be reacting to 7 American habits that are rude in the UK.
Rude.
I think that's golden, and I can't wait to see the comments in this video. I'm doing this as kind of like a we're going to get them. Uh, so, with that being said, you guys, let's hop on over the video and let's get it started.
With was like, we can't just move, we have to ask. And I'm like, you don't have to ask, you just do it, and then it happens. Honestly, I was considered a quiet person in the US.
I didn't realize it said coming up, and I'm like, what is she even talking about?
Yeah,
I didn't see that at first.
Yeah, we do that in some of our videos.
We do. Yeah, I just didn't notice it.
I spent my entire life in the US with people asking me to speak up and to talk louder because they couldn't hear me. I moved to the UK, and within a couple days, people are telling me to be quiet. Hi, and welcome back to the Girl Gone London channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaylin. I'm an American who's lived in the UK for over 10 years, and today we're talking about 7 American habits that are considered rude in the UK. I have accumulated many of these examples personally, as well as stories I've heard from fellow American expats who live in the UK and are usually trying to do their best, but are sometimes accidentally being rude or just weird. Now, the first thing on my list of an American thing to do that would be considered rude or not acceptable or just strange in the UK is giving a guest a house tour. So in the States, it's not considered weird. Americans love giving a house tour. A visitor comes over to your house and you want to show them around your house. And I know that the British people in the audience are initially going to think, well, it's because Americans want to show off their house. And we don't do that here. We don't brag about things like Americans do. And in some ways, that could be true. You could be proud of your house or things that you've done to it, and maybe you do want to show it to somebody for some appreciation. However, there is also another element to this to consider. Now, what I've come across in the UK is that your house is considered a very personal space for the people who live there. And of course, you can have visitors over, and people do have visitors over at times, but it seems to be that British people love meeting out and about. So typically, a British home is going to be smaller than an American home in many instances. So practically, it doesn't always make sense to have people in your space. But equally, in the UK, we have pub culture and restaurants that allow you to sit and enjoy your meal for more than like 20 minutes. So in the UK, meeting friends and meeting people out is much more done than in the US. In the US, we do enjoy our home as a place to have people over for longer periods of time. And so
I know she's about to get to a point. I just wanted to pause to get to my point. Maybe she's going to answer this. But I feel like a lot of American homes are also structured and built in such a way where there's a lot of gatherings that happen. There's like, she was talking about the pub culture there, but like we have the pub culture in our backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
So like people have full on bars. Like I've been in a house where it's like, this is a pub. Like this has enough dining for 200 people.
I mean, our house in Colorado had a built-in bar down there, and it was big enough we could have
had multiple tables, we had a full on bar.
Yeah. Big backyard where you can have a barbecue and have people over to play yard. And that was my question too. She's talking about people meeting in pubs and restaurants and stuff. And I'm like, what if you want to have friends over for like board games, like game night, and you have charcuterie boards, and
they got a pub for that?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So, and then like I understand, like I 100% get the argument, and I get it. You guys think it's rude. Cool. Understood. If we ever visit or if we ever own a house, we're not going to do that. But I think for us too, like if you're visiting someone, she's talking about the UK. So if we're visiting someone in the UK, like, what do you do when you go in their house? Is it like a weird, like, I guess I'm following the host around?
Yeah.
Like, so I think the house tour gives not only like, hey, this is my house. If you need the bathroom is over here. Like, it's kind of like a welcoming, like
exactly.
You're welcome in my home. My home is your home kind of scenario where it's like, hey, you feel more comfortable. You can see it. I get that there's probably like a little bit of bragging, but how can you brag to someone who has the same exact house as yours?
Yeah, and there's plenty of people that have very small homes that they're not proud of, and like you can't say that that's bragging in every single instance. And like she said, there's probably some people that do want to brag a little bit about it. But I was also going to make the point when the video was going that, at least for us, the way I see it is it's not like, oh, look at our gorgeous, beautiful home. I mean, yeah, we worked really hard for like what we do have, but it's like, hey, this is where this is. This is like, we want you to feel welcome there. Like, my home is your home type situation, exactly like you said.
And that's not us defending anything, but I just want to make that clear. We're not defending anything. I agree.
You guys are so defensive.
Like, I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to give our perspective as well. So there's a little bit too, arguments, and it's not even really an argument.
Yeah, it's not an argument at all.
Chill.
Just explaining.
And it's an American. So like an American to an American. American. We can do this. Okay. All right, let's go.
So this reflects back on why Americans love giving a house tour, because in some ways we are trying to make our guests feel at home, and I'm not in any way saying that we're showing them our underwear drawer, but you might show them around and take them around your house in kind of a welcoming kind of way.
Damn.
This isn't done in the UK, so if you have people over, they stick to the rooms that they're allowed in. Most of the house, you like practically board up when someone's coming over, and that's where the visitor is supposed to be. And again, I'm not saying Americans like have guests to their home just wandering every inch of your space, but when they would come to the door, you would welcome them in, and if they haven't been to your home before, you would usually give them some type of tour. Now, the tour of my house in the UK would be over in about 30 seconds because, as I said, typically homes in the UK are smaller than in the US, but again, this would be considered weird or rude in the UK because it would mostly be seen as you're trying to show off your home, and that's something that is not done. Now, the next thing on my list actually has to do with American servers within a restaurant and the behavior that would be considered rude, which is not only constantly checking in on you and kind of, in some ways, probably to a British person, bothering you during your meal, but in the US, servers, just as a general rule, this isn't just one person or considered rude or anything, they will give you your check or your bill for the meal basically as soon as they've delivered the food. If not that, like a couple minutes after. That would be considered extremely weird and extremely rude in the UK, as if your server is trying to get rid of you. But the thing is, in America, they kind of are, because they rely on tips, which is an entirely different video, and so much of their wage comes from being able to turn over tables quickly, and this would never fly in the UK. The restaurant experience is totally different, and so if a British family does go to the US, that's something to remember, that the American waiter or waitress is not, within the context of American culture, being rude by giving you your bill for the meal really soon after they serve you your food.
I can see Taylor's dying over here, so I wanted to pause it, but I also didn't want to be rude to the video that we're watching.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this. I can relate. I've been a server as my secondary job since I was 17, so I've had a lot of serving experience. It's nice for extra cash. Love it.
So, two things. It does happen a lot in America where like your food, sometimes the bill will come. Where you going?
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry. You can continue on. I'll finish when you're done.
Maybe we're going to make the same point.
We are probably going to make the same point.
Okay. I'll let you go.
No, you go right on ahead.
So
you needed to say it more than I did, I guess.
It was burning a hole in my heart. All right. So most times a bill does come, like usually when they write out immediately, but I think we'll agree, as long as they keep serving, because like they can't kick you out. It's kind of like their way of saying, okay, we're done, but we're not done, because if it's kind of like get GTFO, but really they can't kick you out. So if we're still eating, I'm gonna still be sitting there, you guys. Like I'm gonna enjoy as much time as I need. And that waitress better be serving us waters or drinks. It's the waitresses that don't. Like their time with you ends as soon as they give us the check, and that I can't stand.
Yeah, I agree and disagree with you, because I agree with your second half of that. I don't agree with your first half, because as I was saying, I've been a server for a very long time.
Sorry, I didn't know.
Never have I ever worked anywhere where we did that, where that is acceptable. I lived in Nebraska where I served for a very long time. When I moved to Colorado and started serving, the place I worked, we did not do that. But anytime we would go out to eat, like 95% of those times they did that. And I always would make a comment. I'm like, what is this? Why are they bringing me the check when they bring my food? Because most of the time you don't see them again after that. It's like, my water's been empty for 20 minutes. My food is cold. I need a ranch. There's a hair in my food. Anything could go wrong. And they just drop it and they're gone. And I hate that. It drives me crazy. And since we moved to Florida, we've seen the same exact thing. And
It drives her nuts.
it drives me
It
nuts.
drives her nuts.
I'm like, I could run this restaurant.
Yeah.
Just give me a job. And it's awful. Yeah. It's not everywhere in America. It's not all Americans. Never worked anywhere where we did that. But
Look at the
I've seen it
face
a lot.
she's giving you.
all right, I'm done ranting.
Look at her face. She's like, I'm just about to say that. I know. All right.
Another American habit that is considered rude in the UK has to do with eating as well, and that is to do with what you do with your knife and fork after you finish a meal. So in the UK, the polite thing and general thing you're supposed to do, and people just seem to do as a matter of like not even thinking about it, is you put your utensils together on your plate and it looks something like this. And this is not really done in the US. So there is no official signal for I have finished my food or I am done with my meal. And you kind of just leave your utensils wherever you want to leave them. They could be on the plate, they could be off the plate, they could be making a cross, they could be like just stacked in any weird old way. You basically just throw your utensils down and that means you're done. That is considered rude in the UK in the sense that it's just the polite thing to do to finish your meal by putting your utensils together on the plate, which is something that I have gotten better at remembering to do, but I still have to sometimes remember to do it naturally. And I see other people around me in the UK just doing this naturally, and I have to remember to gather all of my utensils and put them in this line on the plate to show that I'm done. The next
Was that something you ever experienced when you visited Europe?
No, but we didn't really eat out much. We did a lot of shopping in like local grocery stores
Oh.
and making food.
Do they not just come, like, do they have bus boys?
I don't know.
Because why would it matter where you have your silverware? I feel like that's a gesture more than a practicality. Because, I mean, if you just dump it in a...
Yeah, it's definitely so you know that you're done. So that way you're not having to say, oh, you still have food on your plate, but your utensils are there. Are you done? So if you put it on there, they just know that you're done. Which also as a server, I've just always done. Just it's become like second nature to me. But I also, when I go out to eat, as you know, stack all the plates that are on the table to make the server's job easier. So I mean, I get it. It makes sense. I think it is a good like practical just general thing is like, hey, I'm finished, you can take my plate, I'm done, I don't want anything else. It makes sense.
Do you know what's like a super dick thing that I do all the time? I put my napkin on the plate. Like when I'm done eating, I'll just napkin goes on the plate. Like it's trash now.
Yeah, I mean your napkin is trash.
I know, and I put it on like my leftover whatever food I didn't finish, like the plate. It's there it is.
Yeah.
That's how I indicate that I'm done.
I don't think that. I think that's very normal.
I don't know.
That's the American way of letting them know you're done with your plate. You got your crumpled up napkin on top.
Next thing on my list is Americans being loud. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that we're not loud. We are loud. Honestly, I was considered a quiet person in the US. I spent my entire life in the US with people asking me to speak up and to talk louder because they couldn't hear me. I moved to the UK and within a couple days, people are telling me to be quiet. Americans just speak loudly. We just are loud, and it's a trait that is considered relatively rude in the UK because it's infringing on other people's right to enjoy the environment surrounding them. And this is particularly prevalent with Americans on like public transportation in the UK. So if you take the tube in London or a train, you can usually hear the Americans before you can see them. It's just, we're not trying to be rude. We just culturally are loud. And another thing to remember the next time you hear a loud American in the UK is that within the country that we're from, because everybody is loud, you have to speak louder and louder and louder to be heard over the other people. So it doesn't come across as being loud in the US because everybody's being loud. Whereas here in the UK, definitely people are a bit more reserved and a bit more quiet, and suddenly I become the loudest person in the room. The next American habit that's considered rude in the UK, and
I think that's very true, and I've heard that for a very long time from people outside the US. I also think, generally speaking, I think there's a lot of just like hustle and bustle constantly, and I think that a lot of other countries, you know, I don't know, I just want to say like enjoy life more. There's more vacation time, there's more time that you're out just doing things. You know, when I was in Europe, for example, I would see people out walking everywhere all the time, and America is just constant go 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 go. But I think people adapt to that lifestyle, and so because you're just constantly rush 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 rush, I think personalities take that over and you just get loud like your lifestyle is, if that makes sense.
I also think it's because to me, like just hearing her talk, I don't think she's loud. She's just speaking normally, right?
Mhm.
To you guys in the UK, you might think that she's being loud. And even for us, you know, I would think that you're, compared to me, significantly quieter. But we live in mass population centers, where, yeah, everybody's like, have you been to the streets of New York?
Mhm.
Like everybody's yelling from across the street.
Yeah,
You
that's what I
got
mean by
like,
the hustle bustle.
you go into a store and it's like packed. So
Mhm.
like someone's got a coffee, you gotta go, hey Larry, Larry. You guys seen it.
Exactly.
That's just the way it is. I don't know. I don't disagree with it.
I think too, it helps if you can be socially aware.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in a place.
Do you hear the cat? And we also have loud cats too.
If you're in a place and you're being very loud, because love you, but you can be this way, or sometimes you just talk very loud, or I'll be 4 aisles away at the grocery store and you yell my name, and I'm like, don't do that. Like, why would be quiet? It just makes me uncomfortable sometimes when you do that.
What do you mean?
So I think if you're socially aware and you realize that you're being very loud in a crowd and you lower your voice, that's one thing. But people are just, yeah, just caught up in life and talk loud. I don't think we're typically very loud people. And I saw a comment the other day that said they started one of our videos and they couldn't finish because I was too loud. And I was like, I've never been told that on here before,
That's
ever.
wild,
You
yeah.
always are like, you got to talk louder, use your streaming voice.
Yeah, use your streaming voice. Well, that's for the microphone to pick it up.
Yeah, I know it is.
Because you get to it under a frequency and it's not going to pick it up at all.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, how am I going to get your attention when you're 4 aisles away?
You walk and find me.
Walking fun? No, no. All right, let's.
I was built for the UK.
And this is definitely a little bit of a cringy one, is not saying please or thank you or please can you do this, not having those like niceties attached to what you're saying. And this is definitely one of those things I notice when I'm in the US. An example would be if you are in a store and asking where something is. In the UK, you would go up to a person and you would say, oh, sorry, can you please tell me where the flower is? Or you would just have all these different words to say, excuse me, please can you help me, or something like that. In the US, a lot of people, and this does depend on region a little bit, but a lot of people would just go up to the person in the store and they wouldn't have any of these other words. They would just say, where's the flower? And they might say it in a way that to us in the States is still a nice way of saying it. I'm not saying that they're going to be demanding. We could still say it nicely, but we wouldn't include the other words like, excuse me, please can you help me, can you do this? We would just kind of go in directly with our question.
told you.
And in some ways this may have to do with the American
I don't
style
agree.
of direct communication that I talked about in a previous video, but overall it is just sort of bad manners in the UK and in most countries, so I'm not siding with the Americans on this one, but bad manners to not be saying please, not be saying thank you,
We say
and
please,
things
thank
like
you
that.
all
And the
the
next thing on my list that Americans do that can be considered weird in the UK is talking very openly about religion and asking people questions about their religion. And what I mean by this is In the UK, religion is seen as a personal thing. So you might go to church, you might not, you might go to another religious venue, you might not, but you're not going to expect people that you don't know to ask you about it. In the US, this is a little different. As a country, America is much more religious than the UK, and it is seen as more appropriate to ask a stranger maybe where they go to church, because the assumption is that a lot of people do, especially in certain parts of the US, or you might ask them what religion they are. And again, there's going to be differing experiences of this depending on where you live in America and your age and, you know, your social group and things like that. But as a general rule, it's more acceptable in the US to speak about and to ask strangers or acquaintances about religion. In the UK, this is definitely considered rude and not acceptable because religion is viewed as a much more intensely personal and private thing.
I understand that and I can respect it. And I think for the most part, she's right. I
Mhm.
think that religion is something that like is very open here. I think a lot of people are very proud and prideful. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people are very accepting of other religions too, as much as it might seem like it's not. And I'm sure there's a lot of rhetoric on the news about like anti-Semitic this or anti-Muslim that. That's I really don't think that's the case in real life. In real life, like on
No.
the streets, I think a lot of people are very respectful of one another. And I think like if we have other religions around, I don't like we went to so many different celebrations here
Mhm.
that just happen and they're welcoming to even people who are non-believers or they just have like festivals. We went to a Greek fest. We went to that Indian thing.
And I think part of Americans asking people so much is because just genuine curiosity for the most part and wanting to make sure that you're not doing something that maybe another religion isn't okay with.
Offensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so here's something I'm gonna throw it back at you. I'm gonna do a 180 and throw it back a 360. I'm gonna 360 this.
You're going to turn all the way around?
I'm gonna turn all the way around.
Okay. Throw it and then loop
So
back?
we might be very open about our religious, but we're also very private about our politics. And I feel like people in the UK wear their politics on their sleeves. So politics is a very personal matter to
Yeah.
Americans.
To
So
most Americans.
to most
Not all, but
yeah,
yes.
to most Americans, politics is like, that's in the household. We
Mhm.
discuss politics within our household. We don't share our thoughts, views, or anything else outside of our home
Yep.
because we don't want politics to ruin
And
relationships.
it does.
And it
It
does.
ruins families.
So politics is a very heated thing. It's a very politicized and polarizing thing in America. So we, for the most part, Americans keep. That's why, like, we get comments all the time about politics, and I don't even want to entertain them because it's not your business what my politics is.
Yeah.
And I feel like you guys wear it on your sleeves, where we wear our religion on our sleeves. But let's continue.
And the final thing on my list has to do with queuing. Of course it does. The American habit that is considered rude in the UK is essentially pushing to the front of things or taking things before you wait your turn or you ask. In
It
the
is
UK, the art of queuing is well known. People are very good at it. People are good at lining up, waiting for things, waiting your turn. The British way is sort of just being like, no, you go first. No, you go first. Or just really having a sense of order when it comes to who gets what next. In America, it is kind of everyone for yourself. We are very bad at lining up. I don't know if you've seen the scene in an iconic American Christmas film called Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger of all people. But there is a scene when they get a toy into the toy shop that all the parents want and they essentially trample each other to get to it. This has
Friday.
happened in the US.
Black
This
Friday.
is something that I watched and I'm like, yes, this makes sense for America. This is kind of how we operate. And we can even take it from the funny, silly, like, physical example of, not being able to line up or like rushing into a toy shop or something like that. But it also tends to extend to other areas as well. So as an example, there was one time when I was on a plane traveling with a British person and the plane had empty seats in the same like economy section that we booked, so it wasn't like first class empty seats, but there were empty seats, and there were seats that I would have preferred to sit in more than the one that I had, but there weren't that many empty seats. So my American self was like, we're just gonna move. We're just gonna move. We're not gonna ask. We're just gonna go and move to these other seats that are empty. And this has always worked for me. This is just the American way. I see something that's open. I'm like, okay, nobody else is using this, and it's in the same class that I've booked. So I'm just gonna go and sit there. I'm gonna take it. The British person that I was with was like, we can't just move. We have to ask. And I'm like, you don't have to ask. You just do it, and then it happens. But the British way can be seen as much more polite and less rude, to not just go and assume you can do things, but to ask, to again wait your turn. Is it okay if I go and sit in that other seat? Where the American in me was just like, no one else is doing it, so I'm gonna go and do it. Or if you're in a grocery store or something similar, maybe you come up to an item that is running out and you get to it at the same time as another person. In the UK, it's often the polite thing to say, oh no, go ahead, you have it, you take it. An American is like, no, I got here 0.3 seconds before you, I'm taking this, have a nice day. I'm not saying it's the best trait to have. I'm just saying that is what That's Americans true. Are kind of conditioned to be like. You can call it entitled, or you can call it bold, whatever you want to see it as. That is definitely an American habit that is not considered acceptable and is considered rude in the UK. Now that brings me to the end of this list. I hope you learned something new, or the next time you encounter an American in the UK, you maybe have an understanding of why they do some of the things they do. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
So,
what did you learn?
That we're pretty rude. So you guys,
Who's weird?
That like we as an American,
okay,
as Americans, America's rude as shit. I'm probably up there with. I'm like top 10. I'm like in the top 10 rude.
I'm pretty sure I'm British.
I know. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you're the Brit. So you guys, this video was created by Girl Gone London. Please go over there, show her some support if you're seeing this from our channel. She did an excellent video. I thought that was very good. I really like, you know, it's one thing to hear it from in our comments. It's one thing to hear it from like you guys, people that live in the UK. I love the American comparisons because it's like, you know me, right? It's like, you are me. Tell me how you like interpreted this, because you know, when it comes from someone from Europe bashing Americans, I'm like, is that just anti-American rhetoric, or is that like real life? So hearing it from an American, I think it sticks a little bit better for me personally.
Yeah, because until you've gone through something or been somewhere where you've experienced something firsthand, you have no idea what it's actually like. You're just getting
secondhand information.
Yeah, exactly. You're just running with it.
Yeah. So I like hearing, you know, Girl Gone London, sick name. Go give her channel some support. I think this is a long video. I think we've said everything that we've needed to say really about it. I thought it was a great video.
Yeah, I thought it was a great video too. I think it was fun. I think it was, like you said, good to experience from another American. I really think I need to just move to the UK. So I hope you're ready. Everything she said, I was like, wow. Yeah, no, I hate that too about Americans. Yeah, no, I'm definitely that person in the grocery store that's like, hi, excuse me. I'm so sorry to bother you. Can you tell me where this is? And then they're like, yeah, let me take you there. And I'm like, no. You don't have to take me. Just tell me what aisle. Thank you so much.
So let me ask you this very honestly. Do you think I would survive in the UK? Do you think I'd be able to adjust?
Eventually.
I would be coming home with black eyes, broken ribs every day.
I don't think it would be a smooth transition.
You'd be like, what happened to you? Just
again. You like come home with a knife in your ribs. Yeah. I'm like, man, another Wednesday.
I'd be like, you should have seen the other guy. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're very American.
I'm super American. That's why we haven't traveled to half the countries we wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah. But all right, you guys.
That's for our argument.
This is personal. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.